You are an educator. You have a choice of virtual worlds. You can go where you choose. What makes SpotOn3D.com different? Our easy press tools make presentation native. Easy inventory go from grid to grid. Universal registration. Universal avatars. EduMerge and micro-community. Community conference center. 100 people on a cloud. Free forever accounts with 5 avatars. Premium membership with full production level skills. Protection. SpotOn3D.com. Different. Hello and welcome to GRIDwrap, today being Monday, and I have on the seat beside me our co-host Tessa Harrington. Welcome, Tessa.
Hello.
Hello. And our special guest today, Lisa Hermano.
Hello.
Lisa.
Hi.
Now, our subject today is human trafficking and money laundering. Now, we had some talk about human trafficking a little earlier, and it's put people in a bit of a lather because they're getting it mixed up with gore or BDSM or, well, any of those, any naughty consciences they might have about their sexual preferences. However, and I'll give you the wiki definition, the Wikipedia definition. Human trafficking is the illegal trade in human beings for the purpose of commercial sexual exploitation or forced labour, a modern-day form of slavery. It is the fastest-growing criminal industry in the world and tied with the illegal arms industry as the second largest after the drugs trade. Now, Lisa, this is an area of special interest for you, I believe.
Yes, it's an area that that takes up a lot of my time in real life.
Okay, and I know that you're very passionate about it. What engaged you in looking into this area as your passion, if you like?
Well, obviously in real life, I work in sort of the prevention of serious and organised immigration crime. I actually came to Second Life in 2006 through a colleague who was here policing Second Life, looking at money laundering. When I actually came into Second Life, massive sex industry, and you can see that there's basically an area here for people to potentially groom vulnerable individuals who play Second Life. It's a perfect canvas basically for optimists who do want to get victims and maybe take them into real life with a view to exploit them.
Now, presumably, you're talking about Second Life here, but presumably it isn't just Second Life. It's on the net. It's any open sim that's developing today will encourage people to come in and take advantage of it, won't it?
Yes, it's not just Second Life, it's basically the internet as a whole. It can be anything from the social, like Facebook, blah-de-blah, World of Warcraft. There has been some cases, if I can say that, with regarding to grooming. And the internet's just like an easy access for these sort of criminals.
Now, we've been talking a lot. Tessa here is developing SpotOn3D.com. How would she stop people like that getting access into SpotOn3D, for example?
Well, obviously, without giving too much information, sex offenders and known traffickers they are monitored especially in the UK, this is probably worldwide. Well, I know it's worldwide. Basically, there's restriction on access to the internet, monitored, tagged. However, these people do and can get access to the internet. IP addresses are, they're sort of limited to what they can access. I mean, really, obviously you can't disclose too much, but and I don't really know.
And we're not going to ask you to either.
No. Well, I don't really know how like Second Life and blah-de-blah do monitor or spot on 3D. But I just hope that if anything came to light, or even if people sort of suspected something but they weren't 100% sure, it's always good to tell someone, even if it hits a dead, even if it's not what you think it is. It doesn't matter. You're not wasting people's time. It's always good to be careful.
Well, I think as a grid owner, one of the things I'd want to do is if I did get a growing community in, I'd want them to set up some kind of tag up to a real life. And I've actually spoken to a representative of a nonprofit that I won't mention, but we had a long conversation about gameplay, role play, adult-oriented role play, and real-life slavery and abuse through these kind of fantasy role plays. And what I've started broaching the subject of is, wouldn't it be good if we, as a grid, required that they host some kind of outlet that gave information about real slavery and real money laundering, so to make people more aware that this is possible to run into this in the environment, and give them an outlet of where to go and communicate to us and the authorities who needed to take care of it. And I think that would really discourage it a great deal to know, hey, they have a one-stop shop here to report. If you do this kind of stuff, you're going to be probably found out. I think it's when you leave it in okay, I'm going to not say this word right. Ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
Thank you. Ambiguity. It's my dyslexic self. When you leave it that ambiguity, and it's just, people don't know what to do. They're shocked by the circumstances, and I think they just run away from it because, it's a huge responsibility. But I think if we take these groups that may not agree with the role play or the fantasy play that's going on around them and say, let's use this to your advantage to inform people about a real life deal here that they may run across in their gameplay, because it is a perfect environment for that kind of thing. And, you can't censor the whole world. That's really not anybody's job but yourself, to censor the activities you get involved with as an adult. But we can certainly give them an opportunity in a way station to find out more about it and make sure what they're dealing with is legit or not, and where to go if it's not.
What would you say about that, Lisa? I mean, is there any value in setting up a health centre or something like that? Yeah.
Well, I'd really like to
clarify the gore thing.
I'd just like to clarify that from my experience in real life with human traffickers and groomers, because obviously the trafficker is like the main organisation. There's a difference between facilitation of somebody into a country like the UK and trafficking. Trafficking is purely for the exploitation of an individual, where facilitation, they're basically helping someone come into the UK or the US, and then they let them go. They pay a fee, and that's it. With trafficking, these individuals are victims. They're usually kept in locked rooms. I mean, I did do a case where we found 24 Eastern European girls who thought they were coming to the UK to study nursing, and these organised crime groups, money's not an object. I mean, what the object is to get the product, and unfortunately the product is humans. They sell more than drugs do, because you can use them over and over again. If you're using them for sex, in the sex industry, once they're no good for that, then they can go into domestic servitude. I mean, it's horrendous. But basically, what I was saying was, groomers will probably not be in gore because they
It's too obvious.
don't work in where you think they'll be. They might be a shop owner. They might be a designer. I'm not saying this, so please don't, I'm not attacking anyone here. But they're very good at befriending people, gaining trust. They might buy people loads of presents, make them feel secure, send them photos, this is where I live, why don't you come on a holiday? There's no time scale to grooming. I mean, basically, it can either be a few weeks, depending on the victim, how vulnerable they are, how much they want to change their real life, or it can take months and months. But these people have got time, because once they get that product, they look to make a lot of money. But I just want to stress, it's not gore.
Okay.
I believe, there may be, but I believe it will be more of a everyday role that they play in Second Life rather than the gory and master.
So how would somebody go about grooming someone, Lisa? I mean, particularly in Second Life, where we're not, or another virtual world, where we're not actually seeing the person, and very often we don't get to see the person.
No, that's true. I mean, it all depends on the individual. You make friends, you meet friends. I mean, for example, I've been here since 2006, and I've met a lot of friends. I've also experienced a lot of liars. I'm sorry, I know that people say this is a game, but once I've been friends with someone for like 6 months, I don't expect them to sort of turn around and say, actually, I'm not Dorothy, I'm a married 58-year-old bloke with a hairy arse, and I'm a bricklayer,
Oh my God, I better go and shave my backside.
I mean, I would have hoped that at that stage, because our friendships do develop in Second Life, and, you do tend to start sharing real life
information.
Details.
Yeah, absolutely.
When your kids come in, they hear their voice. Yeah.
I mean, I had a friend here who's still a very good friend of mine, and she actually flew from the USA to Sweden. And I got a phone call of her in a Swedish hotel in absolute tears. I mean, it wasn't trafficking, this. But when she arrived in Sweden, the guy was married, 4 kids. He had 8 months to come straight. So, it could have been worse,
Well, she'd spent a lot of money, presumably, and then found all this out at the other end. It does make you wonder what people's mindsets are, where they allow people
She was devastated. She was, yeah. We all want to find true love, don't we? And whether it's in Second Life or real life. But what you need to know is the trust. I trust, like you guys, I trust you 100%. But there's been times where, there's people out there, whether it's in Second Life, World of Warcraft, and they're there for a reason. And it's just to be aware that, if something isn't quite like you thought it was going to be, or it's a bit unusual, that you need to report it.
So these
Tessa,
are guys who... Yeah, so go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, so Tessa, if there was some sort of facility, like you have a reporting system here, if someone, I don't know, griefs your sim, where if there was a facility of, hang on, this person's really freaking me out, and I know that there is also, there's a police presence in most internet places, so if
we're thinking
someone
about,
gave information,
we're thinking
we
about
can
coupling
check
with the Justice League, from the ROS people, because they do an excellent job, and they're like complaining because we're so secure. They're saying, well, there wouldn't be anything for us to do.
If we've got enough intelligence, if we got enough intelligence and we go to Second Life, they have to disclose IP addresses. They have to, legally.
Right.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So,
or you're talking about the actual users, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to get the IP addresses of all the users?
No. What I'm saying is, well, I don't know how that works, but I do know that there was
Well, don't they subscribe to? Isn't there a subscription to